Welcome to Gossip America. I'm Eva, bringing you the latest shocking updates on Duggar family. Unexpected twists, emotional moments, and unbelievable drama. Stay tuned till the end. Abbie Duggar breaks Jim Bob's modesty rules by wearing an actual swimsuit, a new era for a Duggar daughter-in-law. When the Duggar family rose to prominence in the early 2000s, they became a cultural phenomenon not simply because of their ever-growing household, but due to the strict moral code they proudly represented. Jim Bob Duggar, patriarch of the ultra-conservative Christian family featured on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting, established a series of lifestyle rules for his children that went far beyond the everyday challenges of raising a large family. These rules, especially regarding modesty and gender roles, became both a defining aspect of the family's brand and a subject of fascination and scrutiny among viewers and critics alike. For years, Duggar daughters donned long skirts, avoided physical intimacy before marriage, and covered their bodies with layers of fabric in order to meet the modesty standards defined by their father and his interpretation of biblical principles. In 2025, when Abbie Duggar, wife of John David Duggar, shared photos from her Cayman Islands getaway wearing an actual swimsuit, it wasn't just a beach photo. It was a generational shift, a symbol of quiet rebellion, and a cultural statement that signaled how far some Duggar family members have moved from their roots. Abbie's decision to wear a conventional one-piece swimsuit might seem mundane in most families, but in the context of Duggar history, it reverberated like an earthquake. It was the visual undoing of decades of carefully constructed image control by Jim Bob Duggar and those who upheld his values. Abbie Burnett, a nurse by profession and a naturally warm, down-to-earth personality, married John David Duggar in November 2018. Theirs was a courtship still defined by the family's conservative framework, chaperoned outings, hand-holding permitted only after engagement, and no kissing until marriage. Abbie, however, always carried herself with a quiet confidence that hinted she might walk a path slightly more flexible than her in-laws. After the wedding, the couple welcomed 2 children, Grace and Charlie. Over time, Abbie's social media presence began reflecting subtle departures from Duggar orthodoxy. These weren't loud, dramatic breaks but gentle, evolving expressions of autonomy, shorts at a festival here, pants during a vacation there. But it was the swimsuit photo that truly captivated followers. Posing happily beside her husband in the crystal-clear waters of the Caribbean, Abbie wore a fitted, floral one-piece swimsuit. For most women, such a choice would be unremarkable. But for a Duggar daughter-in-law, it represented a major deviation from a long-enforced dress code that even extended to maternity wear and sleepwear. In the world Jim Bob helped construct, swimsuits, even one-piece, were often off-limits unless paired with an additional layer such as a long swim skirt or oversized shirt. Abbie's ensemble broke that mold. Her appearance in the swimsuit was not just about attire. It was about control, liberation, identity, and the right to choose what one's modesty looks like. The cultural backdrop of the Duggar family gives this moment a weighty sense of symbolism. Jim Bob Duggar's approach to family modesty derived in large part from his adherence to the teachings of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, a controversial organization founded by Bill Gothard. This group emphasized patriarchal authority, female submission, and stringent codes of behavior and dress, all allegedly rooted in biblical doctrine. The Duggar women, especially in the early seasons of their show, would often speak about their roles as keepers at home, focusing on homemaking, child-rearing, and deference to male leadership. Their modesty was not simply a preference, it was preached as a spiritual necessity. What makes Abbie's moment even more significant is the context of broader change within the family. In recent years, several Duggar children have started moving away from the strict teachings they were raised with. Jinga Duggar Vuolo has perhaps been the most public in this transformation, releasing a memoir in which she discussed disentangling her faith from fear and legalism. She has since adopted a wardrobe that includes pants, tank tops, and even jeans, clothing that once would have been considered forbidden in her childhood home. Jill Duggar Dillard, too, has opened up about the emotional toll of living under Jim Bob's control, even discussing estrangement from her parents in a documentary that examined the dark side of IBLP. Abbie, however, has been less overt in her distancing from Duggar ideology. Her social media rarely ventures into controversy, instead focusing on family life, outings, and small joys. That's what made the swimsuit post so impactful. It wasn't framed as a protest, but it nonetheless resonated as one. There was no caption challenging the modesty rules of the past, no lengthy explanation about changing beliefs. There was just Abbie, comfortable and confident, standing beside her husband in an outfit that said volumes without speaking a word. The public response was swift and overwhelmingly supportive. Fans flooded the comment section with encouragement. "You look stunning," wrote one. "Love that you're living your truth," added another. A few critical voices emerged, as they always do, accusing her of forsaking God's standards, but these were drowned out by the sheer volume of celebratory remarks. It was clear that Abbie's quiet statement had struck a chord with a wide audience, many of whom had watched the Duggars for years and were now witnessing the next chapter unfold in real time. John David's presence in the photos added another layer of meaning. Though traditionally seen as one of the more reserved Duggar sons, his continued support of Abbie's evolving expression suggests a partnership based on mutual respect and autonomy. For a family built on male headship, where husbands were often described as spiritual authorities over their wives, John David's visible approval and affection for Abbie in this moment challenged that old narrative in a subtle yet powerful way. There's also the matter of geography and influence. The couple's exposure to different cultures and lifestyles, whether through John David's work as a pilot or their visits with Jinger and Jeremy Vuolo in Los Angeles, may have played a role in shaping their current worldview. Abbie, unlike the older Duggar siblings who grew up entirely under their father's roof, married into the family as an adult and brought with her experiences from outside the insular Duggar world. Her decision to wear a swimsuit may have been personal and unremarkable to her, but its implications, especially as shared through a public platform, are far-reaching. This moment also prompts reflection on what modesty actually means in a modern Christian context. For many outside the IBLP worldview, modesty isn't about rigid clothing rules but about carrying oneself with dignity, self-respect, and consideration. Abbie's swimsuit was far from revealing by contemporary standards. If anything, it was a practical and tasteful choice for a beach vacation. Yet the controversy stems from the idea that Jim Bob's rules are being actively, if silently, disregarded. In a broader sense, Abbie's swimsuit photo becomes part of a growing archive of Duggar family evolution. What began as a reality TV spectacle rooted in fundamentalism is now giving way to individualized expressions of faith and lifestyle. It's a story of daughters and daughters-in-law who, having lived under strict guidance, are now making decisions for themselves and their families. It's about the tension between legacy and liberty, between loyalty to one's roots and the pursuit of one's personal truth. This evolution does not mean a complete rejection of faith. On the contrary, many Duggar family members, including Abbie, continue to profess a strong belief in God. But their faith appears to be taking on a new form, one less about appearance and rule-following, and more about internal conviction and grace. It's a faith that allows for swimsuits and shorts and freedom, a faith that prioritizes heart over hemline. In conclusion, Abbie Duggar's swimsuit moment is more than just a snapshot from a tropical getaway. It is a reflection of changing times, both within the Duggar family and the broader culture that once elevated them as models of traditional Christian values. It is a sign that even in families where rules once reigned supreme, change is possible. And sometimes, it arrives not with drama or declarations, but in the quiet confidence of a woman standing at the water's edge, fully herself.